everybody. This is STORYHIVE on location in Victoria with beats, eats,
and more.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. We are broadcasting live right now on the unceded ancestral, the ʼwakw territories. Big shout outs, utmost gratitude and love to the original stewards and protectors of these lands and waters, the Songhees and Esquimalt peoples. My name is Kazi, the host of this show, and today is our first episode of our Victoria chapter. And I'm stoked to be sitting down with a homie that I met, I guess it would have been a year and a half ago.
Yeah,
Yes.
Just over a year ago.
Just over a year ago. This is the one and only PINDN, a Kwakwa. Oh man, I've already messed it up.
Kwakwa,
Kwakwa, and Nuu-Cha-Nulth MC, born on the ʼwakw territory, Victoria, BC, a gifted storyteller and lyricist. PINDN channels hip-hop as a living extension of their nation's oldest traditions. Through rhyme, they speak on healing, ancestral strength, and cultural resistance, blending sharp wordplay with deep spirit, trickster humor, and a reverence for the old school. Y'all, give it up, everybody in the crowd, for PINDN!
Thank you so much for inviting me to be a part of the first ever Vic City Eats, Beats, and more.
I'm really stoked to have you as our first guest on the show. When I found out that TELUS STORYHIVE was like, Kazi, we want you to cover the Victoria region, the Nanaimo region. Right away, I thought of like, oh my gosh, take me back to Winter Arts Fest 2024 when I got to be here with Van Mural Fest, and we did a whole block party for 4 days in the winter in February. And I actually did not know, much about the creative art scene here. And I had to do my homework, and I came out here a few times and I just went into places and asked, I was like, who are the dope artists here that should be on this stage and on this platform? And through somebody, your name came up. And then we were in contact through, I guess, the beautiful internet and what it does, connects people. And you opened up the whole festival.
Right, yeah, that was the first day, eh?
Yeah. That was powerful. Yeah. What do you remember of that day?
I believe that was my first show of the year last year. And I remember someone telling me, like, oh, I told someone about you. You might get a message from somebody. And I was like, okay, things happen like that these days. And I got a message from you asking if I could do a 45-minute set. And I was like, at the time, before that, I wasn't really performing that long, But I was like, oh, yeah, I can do that, no problem. Yeah, well, I can't remember exactly what I said, but I was like, I remember talking to you about it. I'm like, well, if I can bring musicians on stage with me, I can do 45 minutes.
Yes.
And honestly, a lot of, some really powerful songs came out of that experience, honestly, the emergence of my band that I do some shows with, we started calling ourselves the Nation of Creation. Ever since that show, I got my friend Sina Valizada on drums. I think at that show I had...
You had your uncle.
Yeah, my uncle Guy Louie Jr. Joined me on stage for one song. I had my friend Holly play keyboards for one song and do backup singing. One of my collaborators who's made a couple beats for me, really talented Anishinaabe creative native who works and lives on the territory here. And I had my friend DJ Benny the Jet join us. And it was just a powerful show, It was a memorable one. I was prepared to just, try my best, do my best, debut a lot of new material, and since then I just feel like I'm so stoked we're doing this because I feel like a lot of things changed after that show. You know?
What?
Like, well, like I said, that was my first show of the year. I went on to do like 24 last year. It's just kind of steadily increased since then. And I think what I found after that show was my love of collaborating with musicians and kind of like improvising on the spot.
Yeah. Like
adjusting my words to flow with a certain beat. You know, taking a bit of a punk rock approach to hip hop beat making, you know, and with that kind of DIY attitude, you know, because it's like for some of my stuff, I'm really searching for a certain sound, and I'm like, you know, there's so many things people can do electronically, but, you know, like to capture the sound of live drums.
Yeah.
There's just something special about that. It brings a different energy to it. You know, in our culture, we're taught to, in our cultural dances, move our feet to the beat, and I'd say our hands to the rhythm, you know, to kind of like signify the movement of energy. And I like to bring that into the way I do things, you know, and
what's the difference though between the feet to the beat and the hand of the rhythm?
Well, that's the way I've been explaining it, you know, is we're taught, dancers on the dance floor for a potlatch, say, in our gooksy, in our big house where my family's from. We're taught to enter the dance floor in a counterclockwise motion. You know, it's just like when we step through that dance curtain, it's like we're letting our spirit take over. You know, our spirit being the thing that makes us individually unique, uniquely, distinctly, significantly who we are, the thing that embodies our characteristics, our personality traits, you know, and all these different things that make us who we are. You know, we let our spirit take over, you know, and I don't know, depending on the dance, you know, we might move our hands to the rhythm, you know, signifying the movement of energy, or it's signifying like maybe we're embodying like a animal spirit, like the wolf, you know, or I started doing a song for my grandma, and through that song, you know, my grandma just really loved hummingbirds.
This is Marilyn? Yeah,
my grandma Marilyn, and I have some lines in the song that reference hummingbirds, in the languages of Kwakwa and Nuu-Cha-Nulth, and just through live performances. Like I did that at that Winter Arts Fest show, kind of developed my own bit of a hummingbird dance to it, you know, because the hummingbird's one of the only birds that can move, like, and I mentioned it in the song too, forward, back, and left to right.
Yeah, they're quite incredible. I'm such a fan of hummingbirds as well.
Yeah, one of my favorite birds, you know, and my late grandma Marilyn, those are one of her favorite birds. And yeah, it's just a small example of what I mean by, I don't know, hands to the rhythm. I've been saying, but I don't know, it's more complex than that. It's like embracing our spirit, but also maybe embodying the spirit of certain animals or supernatural beings, and you know, things like that. And just having a good time, you know.
Yeah.
Just, you know, raising your hands up high and in gratitude or whatever, you know. I don't know. There's.
Before we started, you were explaining to me where you're from.
I was born here in 1992, here on the ʼwakw territory, and but my ancestry is not originally from here. So through my parents, through my grandparents, you know, I'm Kwakwa Nuu-Cha-Nulth, as I commonly say, you know, but you know, it's actually a bit of a brief, short explanation of where I really come from, you know. It's, through my grandparents and great-grandparents, I come from the different nations of the Mamtagila, Muskamag Zawadeno, Kwagyo, Namgis, Tlawitsis nations. So those are all different Kwakwa nations. Kwakwa basically just translates to Kwakwala speaking people, Kwakwala being our language. And all these different nations are connected to different origin stories and different territorial locations on the north end of Vancouver Island and the west coast of Vancouver Island, northwest, and different surrounding islands and inlets. And I'm Nuu-Cha-Nulth through my maternal side of the family, tree. So through my mom's mom, and from the Amos family, from the David family, from the Heshquit and Tla'aquit nations. So like different nations along the west coast of Vancouver Island here. Yeah, places like Tofino, Heshquit, different connections to the Muichit nation as well, and all kinds of connections, you know. But when I do shows specifically here, I do most of my shows here. You know, I usually say, yeah, I'm not originally from here, but through living here most of my life, I've really gained a connection to this land, to certain specific sacred spaces on this land, and, you know, to the people, to some of the people originally from this land who, you know, I consider to be like family. Yeah, a lot of people originally from here that very close with my family and that I'm connected to, and what I say complicated native relation, no ways.
Yeah.
You know?
Like, I'd love to know and hear about like how hip hop became part of your life.
Quite a complicated origin story, you know, but I mean, like, growing up with my parents were quite young when they had me, you know, like teenagers when they had me, and but I mean, I grew up in the 90s watching much music all the time.
Oh yeah.
You know, like I grew up watching
Rap
just
City?
yeah, you know,
Yeah.
much music videos all the time, all the shows on there. I grew up listening to radio. I grew up with my parents collecting CDs. You know, I collected CDs myself at a really early age, you know, of all kinds of genres. I remember my dad making me mixtapes, you know, cassette tapes with different kinds of music on them. You know, everything from like 90s alternative rock to some hip hop and older classic rock, you know, like a lot of native people like AC/DC and, you know, all kinds of classic rock stuff. And yeah, you know, I just grew up with music around me all the time, you know, so I just honestly love genres of all kinds, you know, I listen to anything. But yeah, like getting into hip hop though, I always think back to when I was like 11, hanging out with some of my friends in the Blanchard Courts area and like what we call the Quadra Village area nearby. Yeah. I grew up around that area, you know, so, you know, to be honest, like a big part of my story is that I was a witness to the effects of drugs and alcohol and possessed the ability to change the people I loved around me, you know. And that, long story short, when I was 11, I started, you know, drinking and smoking weed myself at the age of 11. But a connection to hip-hop there is that, you know, I'd hang out with my two best friends, you know, shout out to my friends Michelle Turnbull and my friend Josh Hammond, because we would hang out in the basement, in my friend Michelle's basement, listening to Tupac CDs and playing Super Nintendo.
Yes.
You know, and just playing Mario and listening to Tupac's Me Against the World, you know, all the different Tupac albums, a lot of the West Coast Death Row stuff, old NWA, and you know, I always, when I talk about this, I always revert back to those moments, you know, because at the time when I was young and struggling and in a bit of an unstable, dysfunctional household around me, it's like songs like Keep Your Head Up by Tupac that really just uplifted me. But it was in, you know, I struggled in high school a bit. I dropped out of Vic High and I started going to a place called S.J. Willis Alternative School, which was, you know, it's a place where people go that may be struggling with school, you know, may drop out of school, may struggle with it for different reasons. And I ended up going there. And there's a lot of things that that helped me during that time, you know. One was just like having an English teacher that encouraged me to write whatever I wanted. Just encouraged me to write. You know, as I've been writing songs since I was 13, but you know, like I say, I'm interested in all these different genres, so I was writing a lot of punk rock stuff in my teenage years. But when I was at S.J. Willis, they used to have cool special guests come in. And one, and he's still a good friend of mine, my friend LJ, was a really talented local MC, came in to facilitate a hip-hop class, you know, and I really dug it. I really dug it a lot, you know. They had freestyle in there and just, like, encouraged us to write. And I was like, you know, I think back then that it was on my mind to write in that way, but it took me a long time to actually do it. But back then, you know, I really credit my hip-hop teacher, LJ, for really, again, someone who really encouraged me to write, and I still see him today, and it's so awesome because I see him today and get to share with him what I'm doing now, and it's kind of gone full circle because I've been fortunate to be able to do similar things and facilitate writing workshops and art workshops and work with youth and even becoming part of the faculty at the local Victoria Conservatory of Music, as they've been incorporating hip-hop into their contemporary schools curriculum.
Yeah.
Which is totally bizarre for me, because I'm like, oh, no. I don't know, again, I don't know, someone recommended my name to them, and so I've facilitated some workshops through them. Full circle moment, you know, and so to go on with my hip-hop journey, like, there's some different local MCs that really kind of encourage me, and some ones from Vancouver too.
Like who?
So when I was younger, there was a group around here called Hundy Thou. They're kind of somewhat involved with the local punk scene, alternative music scene. So I'd see them perform at, like, you know, house shows with bands, you know, and I don't know, it's hard to explain, but they just had a funky style. But it's really, you know, when I moved to Vancouver back in 2014, and I traveled with my late Uncle Bo Dick. It's a long story, but, you know, we traveled from East Vancouver to Ottawa, stopping in a lot of different reserves, territories along the way, you know, interacting with different nations along the way. But it was a big life-changing moment for me, you know, because before that, I barely left this island, you know. And so to travel across Canada I learned so much along the way. And growing up as someone who didn't really necessarily learn about my language, culture, tradition, songs, dances, all these things, getting to connect with my late Uncle Bo, you know, he was just so knowledgeable, and a musician himself, and amazing carver. Like, if you go to some galleries in Vancouver, I'll recommend them to you, like the Fizakis Gallery. I'm not sure where it's located now, but somewhere in East Vancouver. They'll have some of his work there, because they were really closely connected. But just connecting with him taught me a lot, taught me so much. I have some songs dedicated to him. And I'm actually wearing his old jacket right now. His partner gave me this last time I was in Vancouver. And so anyway, I traveled with him across Canada to Ottawa with some of my relatives and supporters from different nations, doing ceremony. And a good friend of mine, Rob, invited me. He's like, yo, you should move to Vancouver, you know, I think you'd really dig it. And he's the one that actually got me to make pins. Yeah. For the first time, like using a pin machine or buttons. Yeah. you know, to make. He's like, yeah, you should put your art on buttons. You know, you could sell them on the street. You know, like sell them out of my shop.
Yeah.
It's kind of changed over the years, but Shop Wrong was on.
Yeah, shout outs to Shop Wrong.
It's on Venables and Hastings.
Right.
And so I was invited to work there. You know, like selling shirts, selling pins.
This would have been like around 2014.
Yeah, 2014, yeah.
Bruv,
in the summer.
We might have intersected there because I would hang out there with my friend Sid of Pattern Nation. She's friends with Rob.
Yeah.
And around that year, actually.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Maybe. Yeah. You know, I met a lot of people through that.
Yeah.
Through moving there. And it was such a big change for me, you know, like moving there. One thing happened that year in the summer there, the Native Hip Hop Festival. There's different shows around the city. And that really introduced me to a lot of Native MCs who I hadn't heard of before. Getting a chance to see performers at the Native Hip Hop Festival, it introduced me to like the Blackout artists from Sequamic territory, like Mr. E, Mama S, Geo the Voice were all there that year. I met Dreezes that year.
Yeah.
You know, one of my favorite Native MCs, still doing it today. Big inspiration to me, another Native MC who's on the road of recovery and healing, and that's another Indigenous artist with a connection to my Uncle Bo. If you watch his music video, Warpath, my Uncle Bo's in the end of that video. You know, really. And if you watch to the end of his music video for Get Up, that video is dedicated to Bo. If you watch the early Snide-Nosed Res Kid stuff in their music video Skoden, it actually features my late Uncle Bo. Another group that I've found really inspiring, who of course have just taken off in the years since then, who I've connected with, you know.
How did they get connected with Uncle Bo? / what is the significance of Uncle Bo to so many?
You know, I don't know how Dreezes met my Uncle Bo, but I talked to him. Last time I seen Dreezes when he came here, he's like, yo, man, you remind me of him, man.
Aww.
And I think Snide-Nosed Res Kids connected with him through like open mic nights, maybe in the city, in Vancouver. Yeah, my Uncle Bo's had some impact in the Native hip hop scene for sure, in his own ways, you know, just communicating, and like he was a real storyteller, you know, and I feel like I've learned so much about that through him. Like, you know, like he's an amazing artist. I never learned any artistic skills from him. Yeah. I just listened to his stories and listened to the way that he would tell stories and sing. And I feel like I've kind of carried that with me a bit, you know. And I think that's how he connected with those guys, you know. He just had this ability to pass on teachings to people in a way that was memorable, in a way that was like somewhat serious but tricksterish and funny. He had a sense of humor. He's a big weed smoker too, you know. Yeah. His medicine. Anyway.
You were talking about hip hop as a continuation of Indigenous storytelling. I'm curious to know, like, how do those two worlds meet for you?
Yeah, as I've gotten into hip hop, since I've cut alcohol out of my life, it's just been over 4 years now. It's been a major change in my life. Cutting out alcohol and hard drugs, and smoking. It's just been such a big change in my life because, like I said, you know, that's why I say every day I'm just so grateful to be here. I'm grateful to be alive. I just always say that word, grateful, you know, just because, yeah. But so when you cut these things out, it's like suddenly you're thinking clearly. I'm constantly reflecting on the past, on childhood traumas, on things I've been through, just reflecting on the world around me, because alcohol and drugs, when used daily, have the ability to tamper with our spirits. The thing I was talking about earlier. And so I feel like I've lived a long time without my spirit fully intact with me. So now that it is with me and I'm thinking clearly, it's like reflecting so much. I'm like, oh my gosh, I gotta write these things down. You know, that's where some of these songs have really come from. Just like reflecting on the loss of my grandma. You know, I heard the beat that my friend Holly made, and it made me look back on some writing I started for my grandma but never finished, and it compelled me to write all these bars for it. Reflecting on my mom, who's still struggling with alcoholism, and wanting to write to her what I wish I could say to her in person, because I don't talk to her very much these days. You know, so writing through hip-hop lyricism has helped me be able to, I don't know, tell that story to my mom. I've been able to send it to her, you know, and she really, you know, she's really emotional when she heard the song that I wrote for her. And so on and so forth, you know. Like I said, when I was a teenager, I wrote a lot of punk rock stuff, you know. Well, I'm just, like, now that I'm a bit older, I'm like, you know, I still maintain this, this, like, rebellious attitude that goes along with that type of music, you know, but I just express it in a different way now that I'm older. And I think with a lot of that kind of stuff, there's so many different ways to approach songwriting, but a lot of that kind of stuff is like short bursts of energy, 1 minute, 2 minute songs. I find with writing hip hop, it allows me to write like 16 bars and more, and really tell a whole story, really be able to articulate a whole story through rhyming, you know. And when I'm performing, it just adds a different element to it, where I'm able to do that live and share these stories through music, through hip hop, through beats, you know, tell stories in an artistic way, you know. And I've stepped into this strange role where I've become like a bit of a teacher, you know, in different situations where I'm able to facilitate mural workshops, writing workshops, these different educational opportunities for youth, for others, and especially for those that are still struggling. A big thing I share with people is that storytelling is our oldest tradition as Indigenous people. As for me specifically, as a ʼwakw and Nuu-Cha-Nulth person, it's one of our oldest traditions is storytelling, oral storytelling. We never used to write things down, you know. Our people were composers of songs, and these songs told stories. There's stories connected to these different geographical locations and so much more. Yeah, we're just storytelling people. I went to a family's potlatch recently, you know, and it's put on like there's people in the back, like stage managers, like making sure that everybody's ready for the next song and dance that is gonna occur, for the next story that's gonna be told through these songs and dances, for these, whether they're using different carved masks. 40 different songs at my family's potlatch recently.
Wow.
And there's stories connected with each one of them, you know. So it's like witnesses come to hear these stories, you know, that come out of the chief's box of treasures, you know. Usually use this word box of treasures, you know, and just the different inherent rights to I don't like to use the word perform, but to
embody and present.
Yeah, inherent rights to present these different dances and tell these stories, you know.
I mean, okay, transitioning into things that we can stuff our faces with.
Ooh, okay.
I brought you a treat.
Yeah.
I brought you some goodies. The likelihood of you having tried this before is very likely because you're the local. I'm the visitor.
Okay.
But I asked you, do you like spicy and did you want shrimp, beef, chicken, or pork? Now, do you have any idea what these could be? Trinity de Bon.
Oh,
Have you been there?
No, I haven't. It's really close to where I
It's
live.
literally 5-minute drive from here.
Yeah.
Okay, so these are what we call roti. Comes from Trinidad and Tobago. And inside are different fillings. To everyone out there who can't smell or eat this.
Oh my.
Chicken curry, smell that. Yeah.
Dang. To
Cheers.
the bone.
Cheers, my friend.
Cheers.
Oh, yeah.
Damn. Mm-hmm. Wow, that's so good. I love roti. I've never tried from there. Definitely got to go back. Quick times.
Quick times.
With
okay.
the quickness.
With the quickness. 1. First rhyme you ever wrote, what was it about?
No.
Do you remember? Was it about tea? Was it about Damiana? Was it about...
It was a diss to my cousin.
Yes! Most played track in your playlist right now.
I'm loving the new Little Sims album.
Ooh, wait, what? Lotus.
Really, there's some really amazing songs on that album.
Storyteller you admire in any form.
Slick Rick.
Hey! What's your go-to snack?
Well, right now it's a roti.
One word you'd use to describe your flow.
Wolfish.
Yeah. If your music were a landscape, what would it look like?
The mountains of my Musquemugs out Daniel homelands.
Heyo. Cipher or solo writing session? What hits harder?
For me, solo writing session.
Your favorite hip-hop beat to drop a verse? That exists.
Excursions by Tribe Called Quest.
Ayo. If your ancestors heard your bars, what do you think they'd say?
Whoa. Whoa. Whoa.
Oh my gosh, I love it. Last question. 3 rules you live by.
Oh. I pray in my own way each and every day. I call upon my ancestors to be with me before I take on the challenge. How do I put this? I live life in a state of flow.
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 Yo.
To the beat.
Yes, yes, y'all. And you don't stop. To the beat, y'all.
And you don't stop.
That's it. Yeah, this 1 hour has been amazing. It has been dope to hear more of your stories, to get to know you more about where you came from, and to also break bread and eat food with you. I have been so stoked to sit down and get to know more of your story and to connect with you. Yo, shout outs to PINDN. If you want to follow him and check out his artwork, his music, where do we find you?
Yeah, you can follow me on Instagram, Facebook, PINDN. I got a bunch of shows booked for this summer, like over a dozen for June, July, and August, and September and October. You know, things are just progressively just
Flowing.
exactly. So
PINDN coming to a community near you. Y'all have been watching, once again, Beats, Eats, and more. I wasn't sure what more we were going to do.
And more.
And more. Goodbye.
Chew.